Your thoughts on the trade additions yesterday in Jaden and Xavier, and is there any sense yet of will Xavier, either of those guys be available kind of before the All-Star break with their injuries here?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first step is acknowledge, anytime you lose a couple guys from your organization, it's tough. And so we kind of talked about that today. Just because those guys had a great attitude, they did what they were supposed to do, they impacted winning, the chances that they got. And so it's unfortunate. But at the same time, it's kind of the business. And so bringing in two guys, just getting them used to kind of how we do things on the court, off the court. They seem to be open-minded, eager to learn, and I'm not quite sure their medical status. I think it's more just I think it was the first time they were here today, so just kind of learning more about them, and we'll see how they progress between now and All-Star break.
Brad mentioned in Jaden's case this morning that preseason game you guys had against them kind of standing out. Is he kind of guy on the opposing side, especially late in some of those games you had against Philly, that kind of stood out for the things he brings to the defensive side? Yeah,
he talked about that. I think it was he had a couple of good stints against Curry and Doncic as well. And so I think if you can get specialists, guys that have shown that they can have one skill, do it really, really well. That's an asset. Also, while trying to get him better, for the long term. So, I've definitely seen moments of his individual defense and his ability to change a game like that. So it's definitely something that we can have on our roster.
And obviously, you have a pretty set rotation. A lot of guys you really believe in on that bench. What's the process going to be like of integrating, Xavier and Jaden into spots or just situations down the stretch of the season and finding a role for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first part is kind of getting up to speed on our language, our system, and kind of how we do things to make sure whoever's playing, we don't skip a beat. I think that's something that we've really grown into. And kind of like how we treat everything else, it would just be matchup based and situational. So if there's a time where we feel like that's the best matchup, both those guys have shown that matchup data that they can guard certain guys very, very well. So I think that's the kind of the weapon that we have, and we'll kind of build it from there, and see how they develop within our system.
Just how much value do you anticipate Xavier bringing as a screener as well as a facilitator, and with his IQ on the offensive end?
I mean, the same value that kind of he has to fit the mold of what all our guys do, and I think it's on both ends of the floor. I think a lot of the intangibles that you don't notice about our bigs is their ability to execute our defensive system over and over again, and that's something that he's, right even now, today has started working on that. So the value is going to come from all those things. His ability to, obviously on offense make screening reads, which our bigs have done a really good job of. All of our double big units have been really effective. So I think it's just learning how to navigate that on both ends of the floor.
Is there any sense of relief that you see with the guys that obviously weren't traded, that the trade deadline has passed, and now this, you're on this team, you're going to be here for the long haul, for at least for the rest of the year? Do you sense that at all with this group now that it's passed?
I mean, I don't sense it, but I can sure it's not a comfortable space to live in for those, that week or that 24, 48 hours, 2 hours. I'm sure it's a very nerve-wracking thing. I couldn't imagine, just the space that those guys are in, but I don't know that I saw it as a sign of relief, from them.
Joe, thinking about Jaden, but some guys come into the league and they're with opportunity and their tools, they're kind of play really well right away. Are we seeing more guys like maybe year 2 and 3 spending more time with development now, with our teams more willing to develop guys for the longer haul?
I think it just depends on the goal of your organization or kind of where your team is at. I think since I've been here, we've tried to do both, like win and develop, and we've done some of that with a lot of our guys. You take a look at Peyton, Sam, and Luke. Since the time they've been here, they've gotten better, and we've been able to be relatively successful in the league. And so I think it's just it just depends on where you're at as an organization. Sometimes develop means you just get to play every game, and you don't have to come out, and you just work on your skills, and you see a year and a half, 2 years later, like that guy get a lot better, and it's because of all the experience that he's been able to get on the floor playing. And then sometimes it's a combination. Like I think Payne, Sam, and Luke over the years have had to do both. They've had to go without playing time and get better, and they've had to get better in games. And so I think it just kind of depends. That's why the role guys, that's why it's so hard for those guys to make it. So credit to them.
But there's light at the end of the tunnel for those guys now. It seems like more than there used to be, like several years ago. It's like if you can work in the gym for a ton with your development guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Daryl Morey was actually just asked about why they traded Jaden Springer, and his explanation was basically that he was on a longer-term development trajectory, then they needed something more immediate. I'm wondering, as a coach that's just been dropped right into a contending team after you're spending so much time doing development work for the last few years, how do you try to continue to develop those guys at the very back of the bench, especially when they can like come in for very specific roles, but you know they have more to their game?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a point of emphasis for us this offseason, and the point was kind of building our player development team. So, you know, our player development staff, and so our player, you know, Craig and the gang do a great job, where everything they do is intentional, and it's all based on the system that they need to play. And so it's not about a specific role, but it's all the concepts that we need them to be able to do, and some of the situations that they'll be in. And a lot of credit to our staff and to the players, because every day they got to come in and you know, be put in what-if scenarios. And so I think it's more about just the environment you create. And I think even coming from Maine, like you've seen Jordan up here a little bit, and he hasn't missed a beat either. And so I just think the level of your communication and how you structure your development staff with, you know, the intentionality of the workouts and the flow of your player development program is important, and our staff and the players do a great job of that.